Christopher Spera, and this is the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 80. It's Dead Jim. Recorded live Sunday, March 3rd, 2024. Got to learn to tell. I need a calendar. Live from iTechGear Central, as I said. I am Christopher Spera, and joining us this week, we've got the full crew, the usual suspects. Starting us off, the former co-owner of WUGNET Publications, Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin. How are you, sir?
I am just great. And actually, I'm having a great week. I feel like an old rock star. Since you guys live in the big cities, you might not have this happen to you, but I live in this little retirement community of about, 8,000 people. And now I'm starting to get these calls and emails and texts from people that they've discovered our podcast, literally. And Lee, I'm serious. I'm sure they're just people. I'm sure they're just people out of our computer club of like 1,400 people. But hey, we're happy you're listening. And admittedly, our show topics are not always oriented toward technology newbies and the senior crowd. But hey, if you're listening, we appreciate you being along for the ride.
What are you talking about, Larry? We are the senior crowd.
Yeah, this is true.
Oh, yeah, right.
This is true.
But most of those comments, guys, they're all saying, "Hey, this is a little over our head, but we enjoyed it."
Well, good. Y'all keep on listening. And if you have any questions, you go ahead and send them over to chris@itechgear.org, and we will go ahead and get them on the show. We'll answer some questions. We will make some recommendations and give you all the help that we need. And boy, do we need all the help that you need. We'll go ahead and give you a hand. And we appreciate you listening. Y'all come back now. You hear?
Are we live yet?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Oh my!
Also,
we start the show. We've already had multiple senior moments. What the heck, guys?
Yes, that's it.
We're
also
there
joining
already.
us today, his dulcet tones are in rare form.
The
contributing editor over at Gear Diary and Pocket Now, and of course over here at iTechGear.org, Mr. Chris Gavula. How are you?
Yeah, I got your dulcet right here. There you go.
There you go.
That was a couple episodes ago.
I don't know. Well, yeah, I believe in repeating a good joke.
Oh, thank you.
There you go. No, we're good. We're good this evening. How are you doing?
Oh, just ducky. Internet's back up and working.
Now that you have internet again. Yes, good for you.
Yes. And last but certainly never, ever least, the former contributing writer over at Gear Diary and currently the Link, the host of the Linux Link Tech Show. And boy, I'm really in rare form tonight. And the host of the Living in the Retro Arcade podcast, Brother Joe McLaughlin. How are you, sir?
Well, the tornado did not blow me away because there was 9 tornadoes confirmed by the Weather Service in Central Ohio on Wednesday at about 5.
Well, I am glad you guys are okay.
We lost power for 2 hours, and that makes me glad. Buy a gas stove, folks. You can light it with a match. There you go. So
there you go.
But Retro Arcade Show, we had my top 10 controllers of
you were saying that
time.
About like the other day, and I'm glad that you guys went ahead and did that.
Yep. So basically I didn't really have a specific order, but like ones that were on my short list are the original Atari joystick, as well as the Nintendo 64 controller, which is to me very underrated. It was one of my favorite controllers.
I agree with you on that.
Followed by the GameCube controller, but that's one of the shows, and I'm trying to remember what we talked about on, I don't know, the tech show. We're as usual all over the place, but because that's what makes it great, is because that's what we do.
Right.
It's just a bunch of guys talking. And I had a lot of talk about my hike I'm preparing for, and I already know that I need new footwear. But besides that, I am doing just ducky.
That's
ready
awesome.
to talk about the Apple Car. Which
Man,
is no more.
It's dead, Jim. It's dead, Jim.
It's dead.
It's gone. And I was never I never really thought that this thing was going to actually be a real Apple branded vehicle. I didn't think that they were going to go ahead and start producing vehicles, right? I didn't think that they were going to do a Tesla.
No, I always thought they would just sell the technology to somebody else or
Right.
help partner with somebody to get it done or whatever it was.
Right. And
Well,
that's
when
all
they
that I really
announced-
thought that they were going to do. But-
Right, but when they announced the new versions of CarPlay, which will literally take over your complete dashboard, that's what when I saw that, I thought, well, that's why they're doing all the car stuff, because that's what I think. I don't think they really ever had an intention to build a car, because let's face it, they're probably not going to.
What really
probably
bothers
wouldn't
me,
have been
there
very
were
good.
there were a couple manufacturers that saw that and I think jumped on. All right.
Well, they sure wasted a lot of money going down that path.
Well, they were on this for 10 years.
I don't know, because here it is. You just sort of briefly mentioned CarPlay, but there's a lot of AI technologies that are going to come out of this project.
Right. Mhm.
And all of those things are going to be leverageable and usable. So I'm not sure how much at the end of the day they'll end up wasting. That's going to be a hard figure to come up with.
Right.
But I think they'll find a way to make as much use of what they learned as they can. I guarantee you that.
Oh, I'm certain that they will. The thing that bothers me though is that I know that there were some, and they're going to come out on top of this because they will leave Apple and they will jump back over into their industry, their home industry, all the car executives that came over. I'm sorry that that they got kind of bamboozled and left.
Did you get a sense from this announcement about how many people or what percentage of the team actually got riffed? Because I read a lot of those people got moved into the AI groups.
Well, that would make sense.
No, I did not. To answer your question directly,
I'm just curious.
I agree a lot. I agree with Chris Gavula that they're going to come out on top. But what about the users? I'm worried that
that's true.
Whatever we get, we're going to end up paying more subscription money for.
Oh, more than likely, yes. More than likely, yes. I mean, there will likely be some level of. It would be nice if the whole dashboard version of CarPlay were to come to light somewhere. But I wouldn't be surprised if most of the CarPlay updates were that they had demoed actually do get continued in some way, shape, or form. And there are some bigger screens that will get used for some of that information.
Yeah, but which car manufacturers are going to buy that thing? As opposed to the cheaper Google model.
Right. And I think that's what they were, everybody was really looking for. I know I was.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be I'm not going to be in the market for a car for a number of years, but even still, I would have loved to see that technology hit. Joel, what were you going to say?
I would say Hyundai and Kia were confirmed in 21. Well, Hyundai and Kia pretty much same company. Were confirmed in 2021 to be working with Apple on this. So maybe that's they're probably going to be some of the first ones that are going to have the full dash Apple CarPlay. So
well, it won't be GM.
Well,
no, it won't be GM. Those idiots.
But don't be surprised if at some point in the near future GM doesn't walk back some of their earlier nonsense.
Oh, I see no. I mean, I literally emailed the CEO and said, "This is a bad idea.
Yeah.
I'm a lifetime GM car owner. My dad had GMs all my life.
They're getting so much blowback from this.
Oh, sure they are.
I mean, he had a 1978 Monte Carlo. He had an 84 Celebrity Station Wagon. He currently has a Saturn and a Silverado, and both GM products. And he's been before that, before the Monte Carlo, he had a Chevelle. So I mean, he's been since 1968, he's been buying GM vehicles.
Yep.
So it's like, and that's what they need to focus on. You don't want to lose those things, and that's the thing. Where I think where Apple's car failing is they if it did come to fruition, they probably would have been able to build a following just like they have with iPhone and iPad.
Oh, I'm
So, I
certain
mean,
that there would definitely have been
Yeah.
some
Right.
Apple car junkies and Apple caries, if
Well,
you will, for
just
sure.
like a lot of the folks that buy into the Tesla mantra today
right.
buy into it not because it's a great car, because it's not. It's got a lot of issues,
Mhm.
but people buy into it because of the whole presentation and the way it's put together. The point is, once they're in that kind of mindset, they're there. And Apple has that same kind of following in a lot of ways.
Right.
Sure.
So, you would expect to see something similar come out of
Yep.
anybody who bought into an Apple car. And I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think it would have a definite growth had they released such a thing.
Right.
But I think they found, like a lot of folks, that manufacturing a car isn't the same as manufacturing other technology. It's not.
Yep. Well, and they
Correct.
probably
there are other
also paid
challenges.
attention to the
What?
electric car sales.
Well, that's
which
the other
have
piece of
been-
it, right? And
Right.
so let's understand that the GM's decision to not include CarPlay affects only their EVs. It does not
Correct.
affect their gas-based engine cars.
That's what they said.
And for at this point, so what I think you're going to see happen is GM has already kind of said that it's going to pull back from EVs a bit.
Yep.
And so
is
having
Ford.
said right, and so is Ford, and so is everybody. They're realizing the market, at least in the United States, the market isn't quite there yet. They get that now. Then maybe in China, maybe in other places where it's a little more forced, but here
Well,
it's not. So I
Well,
think they're realizing that.
it's the market plus the infrastructure. The infrastructure,
Yep.
Yes.
But
like,
the infrastructure,
like we said
but
before,
the infrastructure wasn't in those other places either. But they were still moving ahead.
True.
But
here's the thing to think of is people aren't going to buy an electric car unless it's perceived as better than their gas car. Okay. When I can pull into a station and recharge my car in as much time as it takes me to fill up with gas, then I'm buy it. Okay. But now that's just not the case,
Well,
So
but
that is
again,
true. My granddaughter
I-
this weekend, I've got my grandkids staying with me this weekend,
Right.
and my granddaughter specifically asked me, Papa, would you ever buy an electric car? Would you ever
Right.
buy a Tesla? And I sat there and I thought about it for a moment before I answered her, and I told her, I said no. She said, why? They're awesome. And I'm like, well, and I went exactly down that road. Well,
right.
their own
Why
the
are they
infrastructure
awesome?
isn't
Is
there.
what I would have asked. But
You're gonna pay somewhere along the lines of about $10,000 to have the charger installed in your home. All right, and then and how much do you pay in gas? Well, the average person spends about $2,000 a year in gas, so you're gonna charge overnight in the house. So that means it's gonna take you 5 years in order to have that charger that you installed in the house pay for itself. All right, and save gas charge, and then you don't have the infrastructure. All right, and
Yep.
are you going to have that same car 5 years later? And if not, or if you buy another one, is it also going to be a Tesla, or is the car that you're going to go ahead and buy, does it support that charger? You don't know if it will or won't.
And in 5 years, do you need another battery? There's another.
Thank you.
Right.
And at that point, you
charge.
may as well just pack it all in.
Yeah.
And say, get yourself a new car.
I asked those same people again. I asked the question, well, why do you think it's so fabulous? What is so great about it? What exactly is it? And then they'll give you some of the pluses, and the pluses almost always have a negative that goes along with that, that they're not thinking about. But what's interesting is what it comes down to, though, and is priorities, right?
Yep.
So for us, we have to travel further distances than people in Europe.
Right.
So for us, this is a bigger negative than it is for them. So that isn't even in the list of their priorities like it is for us.
Absolutely.
So, so again, it depends on where you are and what your priorities are as to why I think it's more successful in other places than here. We don't have, like you said, we don't have the environmental kind of same kind of setup. We're very far apart from each other. We definitely drive more than almost anybody else.
Right.
Yeah.
And
probably not because we want to, it's because we have to.
Mostly because, right? No, that's true. It's very, very true. So I think it changes, and Apple, I think, recognized all of those things. Recognized where the market was and wasn't going. Right. So we could argue they should have gotten out of it earlier, but really the EV market did its thing, at least in the US this last year, is where it did its negative thing. It's still, and I should say, when we say a negative thing, it isn't
Mhm.
dropping. We aren't losing EV sales, but the rate of growth has dropped a lot.
Right.
That
Right.
so I want to. It's still a positive market, but
It
not as
is.
big.
It is. And I told my granddaughter, I said, I said, what would be probably a better buy overall would probably be for in America is a hybrid.
And that's what everybody is saying. People in the industry are saying the same
Yeah.
thing.
I love mine.
Yeah.
Hybrids where
Um,
people are talking about going next.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So it would be better to have the hybrid in America because you're not
Well, it gives
completely
them
relying on just the
nope.
all electric infrastructure.
And
You can
it
fall
gives
on
them
the
more
gas.
time to work out the battery technologies and
Right.
work out the infrastructure technologies and all those
Exactly.
other things.
So hopefully, and
Disposal.
maybe some of that stuff coming out
disposal.
of Apple Car's death will help that infrastructure.
Yep.
Well, they
Maybe
were
it's
researching a
We
lot
can
of
only
things.
hope.
they were, and we can only hope.
But they don't always get it right, do they, Chris?
No, they do not.
No.
And you know what else they all don't always get right?
Cases.
I'm gonna unleash Larry. Hold on. You know what else they also don't get
Hold them back. Hold them back.
Unleash.
Let me at them. Yes. Oh, Apple dumped their leather cases. They're genuine leather cases. They weren't even PU leather. They were
Real
genuine
leather.
leather cases, and they dumped them for fine woven cases. And Larry, I'm gonna let you use the word. What's going on with these things now?
Well, I know there's two types
suck,
of people
Larry.
in the world.
Larry,
At least
they
on this
suck.
show there are. Some of us like leather stuff. I don't. You do. I get that.
I do.
So
do.
but I like it. Here's the deal. When their much touted fine woven cases first hit the scene, I really couldn't wait to try one. I ran right down, bought one because I do like leather things, but the problem is I only like them for about a minute. And that's when they start looking like crap. I thought maybe this new material might continue to look like new leather or something. Nope,
No.
nope. 3 days is how long it took. And I'm not hard on my cases at all. 3 days, this thing had some scratches on it and it just looked like awful. I just took it back and bought another silicone case to replace it.
But I will say this much. The silicone cases they make are great. I love
They're
their silicone
awesome.
case.
Well,
I don't know why
for those that like
For those that like silicone, right?
Yeah.
Well, now it's different than a band, Chris
Mm.
says. It's not the same. I don't like silicone bands either.
No, I get that. I get that. All right.
The
They're
case
very
is
grippy. They
different.
don't fall out of your hand. They're easy to hold on to.
And they look the same 6 months later
They do.
I get that. I get that. I just don't.
That's
I just
the good
don't like.
side.
I don't like silicone. The
But
thing
they do better when you drop them too.
well, there is that too. The thing that bothers me about the fine woven cases is the moment that they announced them, I knew this is going to be exactly like the issue Microsoft had when they went to that microfiber keyboard cover.
Oh, I hate that stuff. What
that
was
was
the name of that?
Yeah.
It's on the
I said they're going to
keyboards
get dirty.
yeah.
They're going to get dirty and oily, and they're going to
You're
discolor.
talking about the
Alcantara.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, and it's
Awful.
horrible. These look. I mean, it's the same kind of thing. It's a fiber. It's going to retain dirt and oil from your hands.
Yeah, but so does the leather.
It does. Yeah, but the leather patinas.
Well, but it didn't. But it didn't, though. I got to tell you, Apple's leather cases, especially if you got one of the colored cases.
Yeah.
All that happened was the color rubbed off, and they looked terrible. That's all it did.
I know. Natural leather is supposed to
natural leather
darkens and creams, and it's supposed. But Apple's leather didn't do that, and that's part of the problem I think they had with it.
It wasn't dyed. It was like it was painted on or something.
It's it angered a lot.
Just bring out a good faux leather type case. It would sell nicely.
Vegan leather.
Well,
otherwise known as Nagahad.
I don't like vegan leather either because it'll crack and peel, and once it peels, then you've got the same kind of problem with peeled vinyl or other kinds of faux leather stuff. It doesn't look right. You can't fix it. All right. With a genuine leather case, if it scratches or whatever, you might be able to grab some saddle soap or some polish, and you might be able to get rid of it or at least greatly degrade the crack. You might be able to massage it out.
All right. The 20 something crowd and under, they're looking at us going, why do you have a case anyway?
Yeah, I know a lot of people don't do that. You know,
Because
it's funny.
I
because
can't
I'm
do
not
it.
an
I
idiot.
just can't do it.
You know,
That's what I say.
again, my granddaughter, all right, she's going to be 12 this year.
Mhm.
Well, and she's got a case on her iPhone. All right, we got her an
Mhm.
iPhone for Christmas a year before, and she's got a case on. She's got a Disney case on her iPhone, and she loves it. And she wouldn't use it without a case
Well, good
because
for
she
her.
knows that she's going to be rough on it. All right.
All you got to do is drop it once. You'll know why you needed a case.
Yes.
That's right. You're
Mhm.
Yes.
right.
When it cracks, it's bad.
If you need something to take a little bit of the absorption of the hit.
Absolutely. You don't. I mean,
Well,
you
I was
know,
going to say, and I'll say broadly, I have nothing against leather cases in general. I just think Apple's leather cases were terrible.
oh, they were. They were.
But
No doubt about it there. All right.
I've
I mean, there
certainly
are
seen
other
better
leather
quality
cases that are
cases.
out there that are much better.
We've seen them. We've talked about them in, well, not necessarily on this show, but in other things that our past lives. We've
Right.
talked about these other leather products that were really, some of them are amazingly good. They're very expensive, but they're really
Correct.
good.
Right.
Unfortunately, Apple's product was not one of those, and this replacement is not exactly what I would call great either. So
No.
there you go.
No. Apple needs to, for all of the design genius that they have at Cupertino, it would really do them, I think, a huge bit of benefit to find somebody that knows how to design a freaking case. All right.
Well,
and
even
knows how
just
to
accessories in general, because we could talk about other problems with other accessories.
well,
Look at the
we
mess
could.
they've made of look at the mess they've made of the Apple Pencil market, for example.
please.
Look at the mess they made. Look at the mess they made with where they put the plug on the mouse, on the Magic Mouse. I mean, we can go on and on. The point is, somebody needs to be driving that a little better than they are today.
True. And not to say that Johnny was the nirvana of everything, but I don't think that they would have had half the problems had he still been there.
Right.
It really bothers me though.
Oh, he was
that-
about industrial design. He understood industrial design.
Yeah, he did. He wouldn't have put the charging port on the bottom of the damn mouse.
What a crazy place for the
who the hell approved?
But
I mean,
but you
come
know what
on.
I'm saying? The Apple's focus on accessories has not historically been good.
Aesthetics.
No.
They're so worried about aesthetics. That little hole, if you put it on anywhere other than the bottom, would drive Tim Cook crazy.
Probably
There's
true.
ways, there is a way to go ahead and stick it on the front of the doggone mouse. All right.
And then you could still use it when it's
not
plugged in.
necessarily visible, and you can still use the mouse while the damn thing is plugged in.
Yeah.
Well,
All right.
I can tell you right now, if you take a look at we'll get to it later, Larry's pick of the week.
Yeah, take a look at
that has exactly that kind of design, and
Yes.
it's good. So we'll get down there.
We'll get there. But I mean, for crying out loud,
Point is, it can be done.
Apple needs to work on it. They need to work on it.
It can be done, and they need to think more about how they handle.
And they
these
need to
things.
figure out what they need to do in order to get it done, because they're stinking up the joint with their accessories. But
they really are
out loud.
They are.
But they have a couple of their really amazing accessories. Don't get me wrong, but there's so many stinkers surrounding it. It's hard to.
It is. That's true.
Focus on it.
That is
sometimes.
true.
They have a couple
true.
shining, really
like
good shining
iPod socks. Anyone remember those
Oh, please.
abominations?
Oh,
ones.
yeah.
I'm looking for my buffing and cleaning cloth. Come on.
Yeah.
Your $30 buffing and cleaning
a $30 cleaning cloth that they sold. Yeah.
God.
Holy crud.
Yeah.
All right. I'm moving us into our mobile
Move us
analytics
on.
segment.
Move us.
We
Move us.
could go on and on and on. I know we could.
We could.
What really kind of sort of bothers me the most, and this first story is near and dear, at least for me, which is one of the reasons why I'm not leading this discussion on.
Oh dear.
So,
Yeah.
you got to have an account for that. I mean, come on.
Oh my goodness.
Chris,
Well,
Joel, you go.
That came from Elon. Tweeted on X. That to Microsoft. Why do I have to have an account for my new laptop? And I'm like, and I think I don't know if Microsoft came back and said, well, you need an account for your Tesla.
Yeah, for
which
the
is
same reason
true.
that you have to have one for your Tesla.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's a little more specific than that. So first of all, let's point out that if Elon Musk had ever bothered to even Google something, he would have seen there are ways around that. You don't have to
Right.
do it that
Very
way. That's,
easy
Well,
way.
yeah,
Microsoft-
well, and he
Microsoft wants you to
community-
do it, but
was
you don't have
community
to.
noted about the Tesla.
And
That's
so,
what it was. yeah.
right. So another CEO from another company, a smaller company, said, "Well, but you have to have one even to get into your product, Elon. Hello,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
can't use your product without
Well,
one."
that said,
And
though,
he
I
went
mean,
back, but it gets worse than that, Joel. He went
Yeah.
back and said, "No, that's wrong." And then a bunch of people, including some of his own, came back and said, "No, Elon, you're wrong. You do." So they had to. So he got smacked twice for this
Right.
thing.
but
Oh,
the
I
bigger
love it when a plan
picture
comes
here,
together,
though,
don't you?
Well, right. But the bigger picture here is, though, there are many, many products that we use every day that require an account on it. Like,
Yep.
for example, if you want, I mean, you can use your iPhone without an iCloud account,
You can.
but do you
It
want
is
to?
really difficult to do that, though. It
Yeah,
really,
you
really
don't
is.
well,
get
you can-
sync,
yeah.
you don't get backup, you don't
You
get a
don't
lot.
can't
You don't get
install an
any
app.
apps.
You cannot
you.
install an app without
You
an
can use
account.
you can use what's built
Right.
in,
Right.
and that's about it.
That's right. So I mean, but now Google, a little different. If you don't want to have a Google store account, no problem. Put on F-Droid or one of the other alternative stores, and you can install
But
apps.
you still have to have an account on a store somewhere.
Correct.
Well, I
You
don't.
still have to
I
have an
don't. I
account
don't
somewhere.
think that the complaint is that you have to have some kind of an account in order to get into a store or install some kind of software or other kind of tool. It's that he felt that he wouldn't be able to get full use out of the product without having an account that they sucked data out of, which really kind of
Once again, what do you think his product
what
is
the
doing?
hell, Elon? I mean, come
Right?
Your product is doing that, and every product that you use that have accounts is
exactly.
sucking data out of you. That's the way it
Exactly.
is. And you
Right.
agree to that usually when you sign up for the account. Whether you read the fine print or not, you usually
Right.
agree to it.
Right.
It's absolutely true.
Well, then that's another reason why
If you
I
were
hate
born
that
after
whole.
2010, you're born into that world. It's just the way it
That's
is.
Yeah,
true.
and the latest generation doesn't realize we used to have a thing called privacy.
We
that-
did. No,
that
no.
What
we
was
do
that?
don't
What's
have
that
anymore.
word again? I've not heard that word before.
I'm sorry, I used the P word. I shouldn't
You
have.
did.
I'm so sorry.
Privacy.
But we don't use that anymore. We don't really have it anymore. And
No.
anybody who has an account realizes, that data gets used. All you have to do is, go into Gmail and see advertisements for things that you said in your actual messages. Then you
Mhm.
you don't have it anymore. And I use that as an example, but they're not clearly not the only one in the world doing that. Everybody's
That's
doing
true.
that.
That's
So
true.
I don't want to, they're just an easy example in this case. But it's true. Everybody, it's a matter of degree at this point. How much of their data, how much of it is anonymous versus tagged directly to you.
Right.
Even when it's anonymous, it can usually be attached to you because of other, because of all the factors and the variables. It's hard to figure out who you are
Right.
Sure.
from your
Right.
data
And
trail.
mercifully, there are ways around it. You just have to be willing to do them.
Well, it's just like all these people who think that when you get NordVPN, your privacy is going to be protected. No, don't work that way.
No, that's
you know,
true.
they're-
That's true.
Well,
Once you
any VPN, they've got your
Right.
data if no one else does.
right.
Yeah,
that's
9 out of 10 users don't know
You know-
why they buy a VPN. They're buying it for the wrong reason.
Well,
don't know.
and there's the example they gave an example I saw recently. We were talking about Proton Mail and the fact that they use security and then encryption
Right.
and all that. Well, then they were
Right.
turning all their data over to the local governments.
Right.
When they didn't even have to have subpoenas, and they were doing it anyway. It's like, really? So
Well,
how
that's-
much privacy did you really have at that point? The
Right.
point is
Not
you don't-
much.
you don't have what you think you have a lot of times, but
Mhm.
that's the world we live in, and that we pay for that. That's how we pay for the conveniences that we have and for the access that we have and for what we think is free. That's how we pay for it.
That is true.
Yep.
So
That is
I don't know why
very
Elon
true.
was so surprised, since he's part of all of that. So why is he so
Yes, he is.
surprised by all this?
Why is he so surprised? I don't
Either
think
that
he
or,
was.
well, I think he's oblivious to the world around him sometimes. I really do.
Well, when you have $200 billion, you
Well,
can be
everybody's
oblivious,
oblivious
too.
too.
Yeah,
Right.
well, he's probably got other people doing everything like that for him, right? So he doesn't know what it is,
Mhm.
I mean,
Doesn't-
think about it. Think about it. All right. There are 10 billion people in the world. All right. He could give every individual in the world $1 billion and he'd still have over 190 billion by the time he was done. Think about it. That's frightening.
No,
But
if there's 10 billion people, you wouldn't give them each $1 billion.
A
That'd be
million.
that'd be
You
$100
mean a million?
billion. Yeah, I think you'd say a million maybe, but not a billion.
well, you understand what I'm saying. I mean, 10 billion people, 1 billion each. Anyway,
for each billion. But
well, all right, yes, 100. All right,
You're
yes.
buy
I
you
get
a
you.
can't math,
calculator
man.
along
I get
with your
you. I get
calendar.
you. You're correct, but you understand what I'm saying. He'd
I
still
do.
he'd still be the richest guy in the world. You know?
Yeah, your math works if there's 10 people in the world.
Right.
That's right.
I
That's right.
Hey, you're asking me to math. Don't do that.
know.
Anyway.
I've known you long enough to know your math skills sometimes need to be called into question.
It infuriates me that
It
he
does.
is so freaking clueless. All right. That he's so freaking clueless. I've got to have an account to do what? Well, yes, Mr. X, you have to go ahead and have an account. You're going to have an account somewhere. Yes, I know it's kind of weird that you have to log into your car, but I mean,
Log into your
weird
car,
that
right?
you have to log into your computer. All right. You're getting services, especially on a computer where you're getting services and such.
And what's interesting for him to say it is that he's trying to sell his vehicle as if it's technology, not as if it's a vehicle. So again, why does this surprise him?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. All right.
Because that's the model technology is based on.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's all about services and selling services and getting you hooked into services.
And that's where you're making the money. And that's what you're exactly trying to do with X. And that's exactly what you're trying to do with Tesla. All right.
So here we go.
It's your own revenue model that you're bucking against.
It's just a little piece of humor and a little piece of
little levity for your life.
There you
go.
Because first world problems at its best, isn't it?
At its finest,
yes.
Or zeroth world, or
That's true. He's in
the
he's in a universe by himself, isn't he?
This is the 1%ers or whatever.
Yes.
Plus
some days. Yep.
Oh, but I will tell you what. And speaking of the Pixel Watch, let me tell you something that I heard that's kind of cool. The Pixel Watch 3 is coming, all right, and it's supposed to come in a larger size. According to 9 to 5 Google, there's going to be 2 sizes to the next Pixel Watch. Right. The first is a watch size of which I believe is like a 40 millimeter size on this, which is for some folks is kind of small. And on some wrists,
is that what the current one is?
I think so. And
I thought it was small, but yeah,
it's kind of small. It is. All right. Some people are pushing back against the largest the Apple Watch Ultra and Ultra 2 are 49 millimeters, and that's a large screen.
But nicer on my older eyes. I'm telling you what.
It is. It's even then at 49 millimeters, that's still a tiny screen.
It's still a tiny screen.
It is. But all right, there are others that are out there. All right. The Galaxy Watch 6 comes in 40 and 44 millimeter sizes. The classic
43 and 47
is 43 and 47.
47,
that's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Gotcha.
All right. But with the Pixel Watch 3 is supposed to come in. Actually, the current one is 41 millimeters. All right. But it's also supposed to come in a 45. All right. Which would put it on par or in the neighborhood of the larger sizes of the Galaxy Watch 6, the Galaxy Watch 6 Classic, the Apple Watch. All right. Which would give it a little bit of a appeal boost to some folks. A lot of folks thought that, maybe the Pixel Watch was meant only for women because it was so small. All right. On my wrist, my wrist swallows it. All right.
I kind of like it the way it is, but that's just me. I don't have one, but I
do, and I'm agreeing with you. I have.
At what point are we going to become like the old Dick Tracy thing and have this monster on our
Actually,
wrist?
there is a watch that's out there. It's from China. I saw it where they've got a pair of earbuds. You flip the top of the watch, and there's a pair of earbuds inside the watch.
Oh my
How
No,
God.
big
thank
does
you.
that have to be? It has to be huge for
That's
that.
got to be
Yeah.
somewhere near 49 to 50 millimeters.
Right.
It's got to be
And
bigger
how
than
thick?
49.
It's big. All right. But
Well,
no,
and
not
if I
really,
were to
because
order
at
a new
49,
one,
you should
no.
be able. You can go ahead and get
Well,
and get.
again, 49 is where the Apple Watch Ultra is.
Yeah, that's
Right.
what I'm saying.
I don't see how you'd how you'd fit any kind of earbuds in something that size, unless
Right.
it was way thicker.
Well, yeah, this one is a little bit thick. All right.
Okay,
Mhm.
maybe
It is a
that's where
little
they
bit
did it
thick.
then.
That would have to
Gotcha.
be right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
But,
exactly.
I would think so. Yeah.
But just
But
fine.
Wow.
you know
I mean, if you need a
that's
60 millimeter watch, just carry your phone. Don't
That's
leave
right.
your watch
Exactly.
at home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't
Definitely
know
starts to get
which
there.
size I would get. I very much like the current size. I might just get the current size because I think
Well,
there's
sounds like you're
some
not
that will
getting
say
rid
the
of it.
current size. Well, I would say that there were some that will say the current size looks big too. Like I know some people that would say that. Not me, you know,
The
but
current
It's
size
a-
at
it's a
41
bit-
millimeters is a
Yeah.
little is on the small side from a watch perspective.
But it is a
All right.
little bulbous, and that may make people think it's a little bit.
that's right. I mean,
is.
that's
Its
the
shape
thing.
is a little bulbous as opposed to.
It is.
And it depends on the person wearing it. I went to a restaurant to pick up some
Right.
food the other night, and the little girl taking my credit card at the end of the line was about 4 feet tall and had arms about 2 inches, and she had an ultra watch on. Can
Oh
you
my
imagine
gosh.
how big
Yeah.
that thing looked
That
on
had
her?
to take off her
Yeah.
whole arm.
Big
Yeah.
clunky
It
watch.
was bigger
yeah.
than her arm.
She
Yeah.
was getting her exercise just wearing that thing.
Just
then,
wearing
huh?
that thing.
That's
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Wow.
But you know, so there's supposed to be some changes that are coming in terms of sizes, which is nice. There's going to
And a
be
new version of the Pixel Buds, which
right a new well, even before we get to that,
right.
the Pixel Watch 3 is supposed to be based on Wear OS 5, which is
Right.
also Android 14. All right. So there's going to be some new features. We don't know what they're going to be, don't know what's going to happen. But with Android 14 and Wear OS 5, there should be some advances in updates in the software. So you're going to get new software, you're going to get new sizes and new choices, as well as Joel,
Yes.
the Pixel Buds Pro 2.
Yeah. Which I don't have any of them. I'm actually to the point now where I kind of wish Apple and Google would just
Knock it off.
yeah,
Stop,
well,
stop.
I get it why Apple does it, because they have this vaunted ecosystem, but it's like, does everything have to be that way? Including
Yeah,
your
see-
earbuds, that's the thing.
Right.
You know,
I mean, I bought a Wear OS watch because I was not
Right.
satisfied with the watch faces, and I'm still not. All right.
right.
Completely satisfied with the watch faces on the Apple Watch. Apple Watch is great. The functionality is fantabulous. Love what it can do. Hate the way that it looks.
Right.
All right. I'd like to be able to have a little pizzazz in my watch face. And after Larry bought bought and returned his Watch 6 Classic.
No, I did not return that watch. No.
Did you sell it then?
I did, but I
Larry-
didn't return
wait.
it.
Okay.
Oh, well, there you go.
There you all right. So bought and sold
Yes.
his Watch 6
We like
Classic.
to call
There
him.
you go.
We like to call him temporary Larry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Temporary Larry?
I
Temporary.
refuse to keep something I don't like.
Temporary.
Life's too
Temporary,
short.
yes.
But you
So-
got to have it first before you know you're not going to like it, right? So at least
That's
you give it a
right.
chance.
Yeah, there's no trial period here.
Yeah, well,
Yep.
But you did say that you finally got why I was so
I
into
did.
some of the
I
watch
did.
faces.
I will give you that. It was a beautiful, beautiful watch. It really
and
was.
some of the complications on some of the watch faces are really nice.
And
Some of what
honestly, I
these,
think if I ever went back to a like a Google phone, I would still get a Samsung watch.
yeah, they're nice. They're nice. But new Pixel Watch coming, new Pixel Buds Pro 2 coming, and we will likely see
When?
these things sometime in the summer, before things kind of kick up for the fall phone season. So
Yep.
So there you go.
Yep.
But that's
Yeah.
not the only thing that Google's bringing to the table.
That is true. That is true. They are also bringing the satellite SOS service, and it's appearing on
Yep.
Pixel phones. So Joel, what's going on here?
Yep. So if you go into the safety and settings, safety and emergency on the Pixel phone today, you'll very likely see, and I did confirm this, satellite SOS appearing between emergency COS and car crash detection. So that's there, but when you go in there and you tap on it, it doesn't do anything yet. So
Well, that's awesome.
that's and this kind of goes back towards where Apple had this in the 15. And it's a good idea, especially since I'm considering going on this big long hike
It
in the
is.
woods, and I think it's a great
Which
idea.
devices actually have the innards to support the satellite signal? I mean, even if they don't have it enabled yet,
question.
Who has it? Who has the innards to support it? Because obviously you got to have the right radios, or it ain't going to happen.
Right. Well,
Right.
I saw it on my Pixel 6 Pro, so maybe I don't know.
You think the hardware is there? I've never seen a list of what hardware has it.
Right.
At this point, but I think it's a great idea. I don't know how far back they can go though, and I'm curious. Will it go back to the 6? Will it only be the 7? Will it only be the 8? I mean, what's it going to look like?
In the menu.
I'm looking through the article that we're citing in the show notes from 9 to 5 Google, and I don't see anything in there.
Yeah, I have it in the menu right now. It doesn't do anything for me, but I do see it in the menu in that particular section. So in the safety and emergency,
do not have
section.
any kind of thing in the article that indicates which Pro or regular device will have it, which is unfortunate.
Okay.
So
and I can try a demo.
So, but it would be nice to see, I think it's great that they're going to do it. I mean, I think we need to go there. I'm glad that Apple went there, a year, 2 years ago. And it's nice to see, Google's doing it now. What I'm going to be curious to see is, will other Android phones follow suit and do it as well?
Right.
I would hope so. I would hope so. I hope it becomes a standard thing, but who knows? Does Samsung do anything similar? I'm curious.
Never seen it.
I have not seen it there.
Okay, fair enough.
So, but
fair enough.
So I'm going to let my Google 7 Pro come on here. It's charged up, but I want to go
again.
Well, if Joel 6 has it, your 7 certainly will.
Well, again, just because the menu has it doesn't mean it's really.
Well, I want to see if the functionality is actually there. All right.
Oh, understood.
All right. I want to see if the functionality is there and see whether or not it will actually support it in this model. All right. But so what I want to do is I want to pause here for a brief message, and we'll come back and I will go ahead and let everybody know where we are. So we will be right back after this brief message. Hi, this is Christopher Spera with iTechGear.org, and I'm here to tell you that iTechGear.org and the iTechGear Weekly are on Patreon. Patreon is a platform for creators, allowing them to express their creative side in an organized, marketable fashion and earn a living or create a really cool kind of side hustle. You can create a community around your hobby of choice. You can gain followers. You can get members and supporters all along the way. You can create subscription products that for a pledged amount every month, you'll provide to your members and followers. Setup is easy. Prices are reasonable, and you can have your pledges auto-deposited into an account of your choice every month. With iTechGear.org, our initial offering is a monthly newsletter for just $3 a month. This is our initial offering, and we'll have other tiers and other products and other offers up in the coming months. Become a patron of our site. Grow with us, and we'll provide you with the tech understanding that you're missing right now. Join us on Patreon at www.patreon.com/iTechGear. That's www.patreon.com/iTechGear. shop.patreon.com/iTechGear. And we are back. And before we enter our Windows segment, I did check my Pixel 7 Pro, and it does have a safety and emergency section, but it does not have a satellite SOS section. It has an emergency SOS section, but that's a little bit different. That's what that's going to do is you press the power button 5 times and it'll go ahead and call an emergency services, share info with your emergency contacts, and then record a video. All right. But that's all that emergency SOS does. It does not have satellite SOS anywhere in this at all, even though I have emergency location service selected to on. So
there you go. At least for the moment. So maybe it's in one of the newer models.
Maybe.
And that, who knows?
Maybe. And you were saying, Chris, it doesn't have it on the Fold either.
It's not in the Pixel Fold, which came out after the 7 and 7 Pro and just before the 8.
Right.
And so it's not in there either.
Well, I'm seeing it on my 6 Pro, so who knows?
Yeah, you're seeing an option for it in the menus. It doesn't mean you really have it, right? Or can have it. It's maybe I would assume so. I would assume they wouldn't show it if that wasn't capable. But you would think you'd see some consistency in the versions here. But I guess we'll find out, won't we? Because it'll come in the next few months. So wherever it's going to show up, it'll show up.
If the hardware is here, it's not being used or activated now.
Yeah.
We'll have to see what happens with the next version.
Yeah, and there'll be new story as soon as this becomes live for everybody. This will become another story. So I'm sure we're going to hear about it and we'll share it with you guys. No question.
Yep. All right, so let's go ahead and get into our Windows segment at this point.
Let's do that.
What's really interesting is, and Larry, I'm going to call on you to help me with this, and I want you to put your Microsoft, your WUGNET hat back on. Go ahead, dust it off, pull it off the shelf. All right. Because this was some of the stuff that was going on with Microsoft back in the late 90s seems to be kicking back up again, at least in the EU, which is kind of sort of where this started for them in the beginning. But the EU is probing Microsoft security software for anti-competitive practices. What the heck?
Well, here, before we talk about that, here's the problem I have. I mean, and my problem is not really with Microsoft. I'm starting to think, that the EU, with all they've been doing lately on all fronts, they're starting to make me think that they are thinking of themselves as a solution looking for a problem. Come on, guys. Hey, who can we poke today? Apple, now Microsoft. Let's look for someone else.
And they're still poking Google too. They're poking everybody.
Yeah, they're poking Google too. It's just, I'm starting to have a problem with the EU more than I am with who they're poking.
It's getting a little
you're
out of
not
control.
You're not alone there. I will say that I think I know I agree with you, and I bet you everybody else here on the show agrees as well.
Yeah, I'm not siding with the big boys. It's just that where are they going? I don't know where they're going.
What are they trying to
draw
accomplish?
attention?
That's what I'm trying to understand. What are they?
I think they're trying to draw attention. That's all.
I don't know, but
Chris, I don't know. What were you referring to about the WUGNET stuff back when we were?
Our Windows experience. We want to go ahead and pull that back out of the box, dust it off a little bit, put those hats on, and take a look at this particular issue, because apparently the EU's regulatory agencies are really sort of focusing in on Microsoft again, probing into what Microsoft's security software practices are, and specifically its Entra ID application, over concerns of potential anti-competitive behavior. So, yeah, I agree with you. It sort of bothers me that they seem to be you cannot blow your nose over in Europe without the EU trying to see if there's some sort of anti-competitive behavior, being involved with the tissues that you're using. This particular investigation into Microsoft is apparently a part of a wider scrutiny that includes Microsoft's engagements in the artificial intelligence sector, marking a pivotal moment in the EU's approach towards tech monopolies and their market strategies.
You know what, EU?
Okay.
Just stay in your own house and leave others alone for a while. I think you're starting to impede on
Well,
things that other companies are building, and I don't
again,
know.
they're looking at broader market implications throughout all of this, right? They are casting a wider net over the tech industry's foray into AI, with
But
Microsoft's recent dealings
And
under
yeah,
Microsoft's no different than anyone
but
else. Anything they build, they're going to try and build a little bit of
but yeah,
anti-competitiveness into it as much as they
yeah.
legally can. And it's called because of the money. That's all it
Well,
is.
and
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 everybody
yes,
here's
because
does it.
they
yeah.
recently invested 15 million euros in a French startup called Minstrel AI.
No, I didn't read that.
All right, and I think what um is causing some additional scrutiny is the fact that they own or are involved with open AI as well. So are
Of
they trying
course.
to corner something here? Are they trying to um
Well, they never
enforce their
hid their
influence?
intentions with OpenAI. I mean, they were they couldn't have been more above board in
Well,
what they were
but
doing.
and here's the thing that concerns me with all this is, and the EU has been doing this quite a bit lately. As we said, with their, and it's not just about AI, it's about all these things that
Right.
they're investigating. Apple in their store, and iMessage, and then and Google in their store, and
And
on and on
even
this goes. But
Apple and iCloud is
well, that's what I'm
storage.
getting
And
at.
yeah,
All this stuff, they're going on all these things, and what seems to worry me a little bit, if I was an EU citizen, I'd be a little worried right now because it's already been threatened by Microsoft. Did this during the whole conversation about the Xbox acquisitions that they were
Right.
making,
Right.
and they said basically, fine, you want to do this. They said this to Great Britain, but this could apply as easily to the EU. It's like we don't need to do business here, because it isn't their biggest market, kids,
Right.
by any stretch of it. And I'm talking about Apple, I'm talking about Microsoft, I'm talking about Google, all of them. They could
Yep.
easily say, enough, we're done. You're costing
Yeah.
us too much money. We're done.
Yeah. And
And
then what happens,
and
right?
then what
Then what do you
happens?
do? You leave,
right.
you leave, well, you make
If they
Joel
were
happy because everybody then
if
in Europe has, one of two choices. They either go Mac or they go Linux.
well, but
Yep.
again, depending unless they piss off Apple, and then they don't have that, and unless they piss off
There
Google,
you go.
and you could go on and on with what I'm getting at though is they're not the biggest market, and they're trying to act like, in a lot of ways, like they are, and like they drive
Exactly.
the larger issues. But the problem is, this is a global economy, kids, and they sell around the world. And yes, all these companies have made compromises in certain nations that we all could say maybe they shouldn't have made that compromise, but
Yep.
sooner or later, somebody's got to push the button too far, and these companies
Somebody's
are
going to
going to go,
push the
I'm
eject
done,
button, and they won't know that they've done it until it's too late.
and then it's going to be, I'm
Well,
done.
with all this said, Microsoft's a little bit complicit here
They
because
are.
they have agreed. If you look at the EU's data boundary, there's an actual geographical boundary,
Yeah.
and Microsoft is committed in writing to store and put all their customer data and their personal data for all of our enterprise stuff in that boundary. So by doing that, they've stepped their horse into the Rubicon, as far as I'm
Well,
concerned.
But only for
Apple
EU
Ireland
data. Only for
exists for
EU data.
more than one reason than just a tax shelter. All right.
Absolutely.
That's
Yep.
why it really is exactly why it's there. So they store data there.
Well, yeah,
Right.
but all the data that's stored there, and granted, it can be transferred in and out of the data boundary, but the documentation that Microsoft signed provides all the details and says what they
Yeah.
can and can't do. So perhaps Microsoft's breaking the rules. I don't know, but that's the only thing I can think of.
I don't think
I
so.
doubt that, but
I think you hit it on the head earlier on. All right. This is them just
poking them.
enjoying the fact that they can go ahead and stir the pot.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so too.
All right. I don't know why. I think somebody over there has got it in for big tech, and they are taking it upon themselves to, beat the hornet's nest any chance that they get.
All right.
That
That
seems to be the
I
case
don't
at the
know.
moment. I
Maybe
don't know either.
me, maybe it's just me. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know.
But
I'm getting tired of it though. I mean, again, I
Yeah,
think
we're hearing it a lot,
Larry,
aren't we?
yeah, Larry said it. Larry, you said it earlier. It's not that we're here going rah 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 for these big tech companies.
no.
We'll slam them as much as anybody else on here
Oh,
on
heck
our
yes.
podcast. You'll hear us say that. But the reality is right now, what we're seeing doesn't have a lot of logical sense to it. It
No.
really is not for the best interest of anybody.
No.
If it was, we'd all be in agreement with it, but it really doesn't seem to be in anybody's best interest what they're
No.
pushing right now. It's
No.
not helping. It's just making matters worse.
Not buying
So
what they're selling.
yeah, it's just not getting there.
Mhm.
And by the way, we all need to keep aware of this because there is an underlying kind of we're watching the U.S. government watch all this with a lot of interest because
Right.
they are trying to now go and take the latest has been, they want to take Apple. Well, they've already started investigating Apple. They want to start going after them for certain things. And all of these things seem to cascade off of each other. So you got to watch what's going on in the EU and other places because we may see the same things happening here. They may manifest slightly differently, but it's important to know we have the same level of problems, I guess is what I'm getting at. They're
I
all
agree,
problems.
but all I would say is if you're going to poke the bear, you better be careful.
Yeah.
Well, and that's exactly right. I think that's exactly right. And that's what they're doing, guys. They're poking, and these companies are going to get fed up with it. I mean, I just see it coming. Don't know what that means, but they've certainly had veiled threats already. And it's not, again, we shouldn't do it. We shouldn't do whatever we do out of fear either. But we need to be aware that, are you really gaining by these things? If you're not, then why are you poking the bear?
Right.
Agree.
What are you getting out of it?
Agree. I don't.
Yeah, you guys got the right idea though.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
I think so. And I don't understand why they're doing it, but I truly think somebody's got a bee in their bonnet over there. And
yeah, I don't see how what they've done is anything remotely any competitive at this point.
I don't see where any good it's doing.
It could become, but what Microsoft is doing is not anti-competitive at this point.
No.
So I think we're getting a little excited over nothing. But again, I think the people making those decisions are people that don't understand that, or they don't care because they've got other agendas. So one of those two things.
Correct.
So there you go.
Well, you know what actually may be sort of interesting, and continuing on the MS
yes,
train here, Chris, is the latest Windows 11 update, which was released on leap year day, is apparently AI heavy.
Yeah, well, each release they've come up with has been more and more AI heavy, right? I mean, they're
Right.
throwing more, and a lot of what they're throwing into it is I'm going to call it sort of hooks into Copilot. So you can get Copilot to do things like now you'll be able to get Copilot to tell you what Wi-Fi networks it sees. You'll get it to be able to tell you your IP address for your workstation, for your your device, things like that. So they've thrown a lot of that kind of stuff in. We saw it. We see a lot of this coming up in the tools and accessories, like the Photos app now will have a thing where you can basically remove things from the background, kind of like Google has had for a while on the Pixel devices.
Sure.
And there's a lot of whole other things like that. I personally, again, I'm fine when you want to give me another feature in an app or something like that, but I'm not sure I need you to be, connecting everything to everything else. I think we're getting a little out of control here. And we'll talk about other things, other changes that we're not happy with as well, of course.
Well, true.
Very soon.
There's some other shit that sucks too.
Well, but there's a lot of these things. So, like for example, and all of this. My point with all this AI stuff that they're throwing in this, they're trying to drive you to services. So just like, you heard me complain about this a couple of weeks ago, the backup app. It isn't about giving you backup services, because if it was, they would give you local as well. But the only choice you have is to back up to OneDrive. So they're driving you to OneDrive so that you have to subscribe to more OneDrive services or more disks or whatever. That's the goal anyway.
Right.
And that's what all these things are doing. All these changes that Microsoft's made to Windows 11, the AI changes and others are driving you to more services. That's where they're going.
Right.
And we get it. We all get it. But come on, guys. At some point, again, we're going to push back and say, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore.
Right. Right. No, I truly agree. It's almost to the point where they're really trying to dumb down Windows to the point
Yeah,
where all you need to do is either type, in normal language, right, in regular everyday language, and not use specific keywords, but be able to use natural language and just say, I want to do this, and then the computer does it for you. And I get where, that could be, very Star Trekky. Computer, please, do this, to create a database that does blah, um, with the following, stipulations or filters or whatever it is,
sure.
you know, and that could be cool. But I mean,
It's a lot.
it is,
It real
it is a lot. It is a lot. And I don't
it's
necessarily
very
like the
overwhelming
model
for
that they're using.
everybody.
I don't like the services
No.
model that they are obviously trying to go towards. And because it's going to get to the point where somebody's going to go ahead and push back and say, I don't want to have to pay not only for the operating system, but for the services, or, I'm paying more for the services than I did for the original operating system back in the day. I don't want to do that. And you can still download the doggone thing for free, but without the paid services, it's going to be probably more difficult to use than DOS was back in the day.
Yeah, you hear that, Elon? You don't have to use an MS account.
Thank you. There you go.
But then you won't have the services.
Yes, that's true. And I can, it's getting to the point, not only with streaming services for either for audio or video content, that we're being inundated with, but we're also being inundated with computing services. And my God, at $5 to $10 a pop or more, depending on the service that you're getting, you can find yourself out of money right quick.
Well, that's true.
There's too much services
articles
at the
about
end of the
this
month.
every day. Yep, every day you can read about it.
Well, this is what happened. This is what happened in media consumption when we all started cutting the cord from our big cable providers,
Right.
And whatnot. And at first, a la carte looked really, really good, and then they slowly crept up the price in all the different parts.
Mm-hmm.
Now the financial proposition isn't quite what it used to be. It isn't quite as good as it used to be.
Right.
So
the average family in America today, if you count all their subscriptions, even like YouTube and all those things, it's over $200 a month.
yeah,
And
that's
that's easy to see too.
And for
Mine's way
working
over
families,
that.
that's a lot.
That
working
is.
families,
More
that
than
is a lot
cable.
for retired folks. That's a
Anyone
lot.
on a
It's as much as you were
fixed
getting in
income,
cable,
it's a lot.
right?
Yeah,
You said it, Larry. You're paying as much now for those services as you were for your cable account.
Well, and
yeah,
even with your
absolutely.
cable account, you couldn't completely get rid of that either. When you cut the cord, you still had to maintain your internet, whether you bought it from your cable provider, whether you went to the phone company, got it as a DSL line,
Right.
whether you got it from a
So
fiber
everybody
provider.
jacked the price of the internet up just so they could
So
keep
the internet
making
price,
money.
right? I was just going to
There
say
you
that's
go.
exactly what happened. So the internet price is now gotten to the point where it's almost what it was when you had internet and TV. It's
Right.
like, really?
And companies like Direct, they moved into streaming direct. Yeah,
Yes,
right.
correct.
Please.
They're your media player instead of a Roku.
Matter of fact,
Right.
I had to explain to my mother. She was telling me the other day, she has cable service here, she has internet here, and she was saying, she was complaining that we get a message near the end of the month. Gee, you're running near the limit that we let you have for the month. A lot of people don't even realize they have a limit every month with the cable company, but you do. And so she was surprised at all that. And the short form was, I said, well, I had to explain to her that that's because when you watch a TV show now, you're no longer, unless you're watching one of the regular channels, you're streaming it now.
Yep.
So that's in your data plan. That comes out of your data side now. It doesn't come out of your, it used to be those were separate, and you watch a TV show, you didn't have to worry about eating up data because you weren't doing that. Now you are. And people don't realize that changed. That whole model changed. So, and all your cable companies and all your providers, if you have a wireless service and they offer you HBO or Max or whatever they offer you as part of your wireless plan, guess what, kids? Unless they tell you specifically that it's for free, you're paying for it. You're taking it out of your data.
Yep.
So, Just all
Yep.
that stuff. That's how it all works now. And
Yep.
it's very confusing because it's not clear to everybody what they've done.
No, it's
And
not.
this is all, so you can't even go back. I guess is what I'm getting at. You can't go back.
Well, you
because
can never go home again.
It's gone. That those options, the way they used to be, they don't exist anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So here we are. Now what do we
Right.
do?
Well, there you go. And speaking of options that have left,
Yes.
talk to
Let's
me
talk.
about the new Outlook.
I want
Oh,
Larry to talk about it
I
first.
will. I'll talk to you.
What's
Let
going
me
on with
talk
the
to
new
you.
Outlook for Windows, Larry?
Well, let me caveat all this. Well, this is just not four old seasoned geeks beating up on Microsoft.
No.
There are some absolutely perfectly good, valid reasons to not like Microsoft's new Outlook. And I think just between Chris Gavula and myself,
Yeah.
we probably embrace all of them. But literally, I agree with some of the outspoken pundits that I've been reading lately that the new Outlook for Windows is probably the worst built-in
Yeah.
operating system mail client on any platform ever.
Oh, come
Even
on.
look at
Say the
Apple
word.
Mail.
Say the word.
Even Apple Mail, at least aesthetically, fits into the OS. It's functional, and it's damn sure not dependent on something in the cloud.
Well, and to make matters worse, Larry, if we hadn't had the Microsoft version of Mail and Calendar before it, we wouldn't know. We wouldn't realize how
True.
bad it is. But we
Right.
did, and we do.
Well, all right. So a couple things here. Number one, at least from my perspective, Calendar and Mail is a leftover from Windows
Yes.
RT and Metro.
Yep.
Well, even before that, it was a leftover from what used to be called Outlook Express, and before
well,
that,
it was they split Outlook Express into two pieces.
they did.
All
They
right.
did.
And Outlook Express was a back in the 90s, it was a Internet
It was a light-
Explorer based
Yeah.
email client that was very light, it was very quick, it was very easy to use, and it had a decent interface.
It was
It had a
clean.
I
decent
loved
UI.
It was very clean.
Simple. Very good.
Mm-hmm.
It was very simple, and I used it. God, I loved that thing. I really,
I
really
did too.
love that app.
I did too. I agree.
It did POP, it did IMAP. It would not connect to Exchange, but that's okay. It wasn't meant to.
Didn't need to. Yep.
It
I
was
agree
just
with you.
meant for consumers. All right.
Mhm.
The new Outlook for Windows, at least in my opinion, it looks like a tablet-based mobile app. All right. And
Well, what it doesn't look like is
I
something
hate
that
the
belongs
aesthetic. I
into the
hate the way it
Microsoft
looks.
Windows operating system. It feels like a web
No.
app. And I
Well,
know
it is a
I'm in
web app, right?
I know, but I'm in the minority here, and I'm generally okay with web apps. But for me, they serve a purpose of not living and working in my browser. But damn it, this is a built-in app that isn't built in. I mean,
Yeah,
it just
so-
isn't.
Yeah.
And the problem with it being a web app is most of the computing is not done on board. It's sent out. And that's my
Right.
problem with the approach. Everything is you got to hit something and then you wait for a response. Now, yes, I understand that happens very, very quickly, but that isn't my bigger problem with this current app. There's a couple that I have, and one is that they simplified the interface to the point where stuff that you normally use is now buried and hidden, and you have to go digging for it. And it's no longer out there as clearly as it was. That's number one. Number two is, and I've talked to the guys here, in the back end, and be happy to talk about it more if we need to. But the short form is they separated the way that accounts work from the email addresses that you're trying to get included in your mailbox, and they did it in a very bad way. They didn't do it in a good way, and so it makes it much harder to leverage your Office 365 resources than it used to be. Even if you're a consumer versus a corporate customer, it's harder. I cannot tell you how many times, as I mentioned, menu options have been hidden or disappeared. We use Outlook, the new Outlook. A lot of our folks are on the new Outlook. I've told them to go back to the old one if they can, because they can't. Things don't work. They can't find things. Options are missing altogether.
Right.
On and on it goes, and people are very, very, very unhappy with it. And as the folks, and I think Joel, I think it was you that mentioned, why on earth do we have to have all these connections to all of our other Microsoft Office apps now? Word and Excel and PowerPoint. Why do we have to have icons for them and links to them and everything? Maybe I don't want that.
Yeah,
Maybe
how often have I left Outlook to go do a PowerPoint presento? No,
you know,
I don't think.
there are
Well,
people that do that. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think they're the majority. I really don't.
well, riddle me this, Batman. All right. You know, with the way that this thing looks, with the way that the UI presents, all right, you've got some sort of a folder list and a whatnot on the left side. You've got a mail list next to it. And then next to that, when you click on a single piece of mail, it displays in the rightmost portion of the screen.
So you end up with 3 big pains. Yep.
Right. And it's a pain in
Pains in the butt.
It's a pain in my
Pains
butt.
in the butt.
But you know, I was told that if there's active content or if there is any kind of malware that may be in this particular piece of email, Joel, I'm looking at you. All right, that stuff can go ahead and get activated because the mail is being actively viewed. It's opened, if you will, in that point. All right. So everybody, you know, at the office always saying, hey, turn that feature off. All right. That way, if you get a piece of spam in your inbox that's got some of this content in the HTML-based email, it won't automatically activate.
Close every ingress point you possibly can.
Absolutely.
Is what we're doing.
And I don't like you. I don't think you can change that. I don't think you can turn that stinking thing off. And I don't want that. I would rather not have a piece of email always displayed.
And it was another thing. Chris Gavula mentioned something in a conversation he and I were having earlier. He is so correct in this, in that a web app is okay, but it's no more okay than the web page itself. When you compare it with an app, that's when the difference comes. The app is 100 times faster, period. So this thing is dog slow compared to an app. It really is.
Right.
I agree with that.
You know, to me, a web app is what I use when I don't have another choice.
Right.
You know, and it gets you to things that I couldn't get at otherwise. I don't want this to behave like a web app that's in an app shell, so to speak.
It's my email
ridiculous.
client. Come on.
You know, this is my email client. I want the smarts of it. I want the speed of it in the app on my laptop, on my workstation, on whatever. And I think, Chris, I think you phrased it very well. This looks like, and I think it's because they're trying to make the interface consistent and because they're trying to push the smarts off of the workstation. It looks like the mobile version.
And I hate that.
And I'm okay with it if it's functional. To me, they removed functionality to get there. And that's where I have the problem.
Well, I don't like the way this looks, but that's just me. So
makes it a lot. We forgot something, guys. This makes it really easy for Microsoft to inject AI, though.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And well, that's the other thing I was gonna say, and I forgot to mention that earlier to you guys, is that the way that they've done this, not only are you exposed as that email is out there, but when you do something that's purely like a web or web app based thing, there's another layer in the middle between you and your data. And that layer allows you another place to inject stuff.
Sure.
And that both bad stuff and good stuff. And that's a little scary. So I'm not a big fan of extracting all these things another layer just for the sake of doing it. You better have a good reason for doing it. Right. And this is not a good reason for doing it that I can see. I cannot see a good reason why you do this. No. So this is a no-go to me. I'm looking for other solutions actively. I know you guys have talked about other solutions that you're looking at. This has not been a good answer for me.
No, and I will say that I find this very, very frustrating because I do believe that an email app should be free. I do not believe that you should have to pay for an email app. Outlook is nice. The old Outlook, if you will, is nice, but it's big, it's bloated, it's heavy, and
it is. But it was functional. It's got
so many different.
Very functional.
It is functional, and I'm used to it, and I like it for that reason. But
yeah, me too.
But to push personal email, it's a bit much. All right, I don't need all of that, and I don't necessarily want to have it. I'm
with you.
This just sucks. It really just sucks. All right,
Microsoft, if you're listening, we don't like it.
No,
we don't like it. We're not fans.
No. And I won't be using it. All right. I didn't like mail and calendar because largely because they were completely disjointed. They were separate apps.
Well, it's not now. It's mail and calendar is one app now, but
well, even still, All right. There's a huge wall between the two of them. All right.
Yes.
And I
yes.
don't like the wall. All right. I don't like that separation. I don't like this either. All right. But that's just me. Maybe I'm stuck in
But
the
like you
90s. Maybe
said,
I'm a stick in the mud. Maybe get off my lawn. I don't know. All right.
but the point is, this doesn't get us what we need, and I don't think it gets it what anybody really wants or
No.
needs. This has not been a good spin, and we're not the only ones saying this. There's a lot of pundits
There's a
out there who
lot
are
of
saying
people that
this.
are out
Oh
there.
yeah.
People who are very much Windows fans and Microsoft fans are saying they don't like this.
Right.
So
Right.
you know, take that for what it's worth.
The article that we're citing for this is actually from Windows Central.
Yeah.
And Zach Bowden has written a scathing retort, if you will.
And he is a big Windows
And
fan.
Zach
kid,
is
so,
a huge Microsoft
Yeah.
proponent.
Yeah, very much so. So you know,
Yeah.
it's
So
yeah,
there you go.
And I agree.
There's
I
people
tend to
at my
agree with
front
a lot
door.
of what he said. He's right. So this
So-
is messed up.
Yeah. Anyway, so that is effectively the show. And I want to move us now to our pick of the week segment. So Larry, you've got the pick this week. What do you got?
I got the pick. That's what I got.
You got
So
the pick.
what I have is a mouse. It's the Logitech MX series, the Master series. It's the smaller Anywhere 3S mouse. Now, I know there's a little truth in saying that a mouse is a mouse is a mouse, and some people just could care
Yeah.
less what's under their hand. But at the same time, that holds true with like cars. But I can assure you there's a difference between a Ford Fiesta and a Bentley. And I'm a big fan of how the Apple Magic Mouse looks and how it works. And I've always used one. For 20 years, I used that horrid little white mouse. I hated the form factor for every minute I used it, but I kept on using it. A couple of months ago, based primarily on a recommendation from our own Chris Gavula, I ordered this mouse. And after, I don't know, it took me a couple of months to adapt to it after all those decades. But I can honestly say that for me, this is the best mouse I've ever used. So why didn't you tell us about this earlier, Chris? I'm mad now.
It is a really well-shaped mouse.
It is a great mouse. I mean,
everything is where it should be. It works very well. The wheel is very nice on it. I mean, everything on it is just really, really well designed. And it's not too big.
Three things that stand out to me about this mouse that really I'm going to keep it. This is part of my stable. Precision tracking. For some reason, I don't know if it's true or if it's just I feel like maybe it's a placebo thing, but I feel like I could take my mouse pointer and draw a circle around a pixel. It's that smooth. It's just silky smooth. The buttons are configurable and they're intelligently positioned on the hardware itself, so you can change them however you see fit. The software lets you do that. The other neat thing about it, it will last a solid 70 days. I just today recharged this for the first time. I've had it for 80 days. So it lived up and exceeded. And I use this thing all day, every day. And even more impressive, if you do happen to get that big red flag that says, "Oop, you're out of battery power," 1 minute of charge gets you 3 full hours of use until you have time to, adequately charge it. And the other important thing for me anyway was I think Logitech software, I think they do it right. They've really done a good job with this software. It's never in the way. It gently nags if you need charging. And if you want to interface with it and configure it, it's really a kind of like a WYSIWYG type of an interface. You just touch and move and it brings up other things and it's just really slick. So,
I have to agree. It doesn't overwhelm you with a lot of buttons on it that you don't need.
And it's simple.
You know what I like the most about this particular mouse? And I think this is a great mouse. If you look at the 5th picture from the top, right? That USB-C port is right in the front and it doesn't look
I was just going to say that.
I charged mine today and I literally just kept using it.
Yeah. Unlike the Magic Mouse, which has it on the bottom.
The bottom.
Right.
What the hell?
No sense. Which means you can't use it while you're
dead mouse charging.
Dead mouse
charging.
I do want to go back to something you said, Larry.
I'm going to give a nod here to Logitech because I think they're the best mouse maker out there.
I don't remember the numbers on it. I want to go back to something you said a minute ago because I think it's important to reiterate it. one of the things that this mouse has, it has a very, very high scan rate, which means you can be very precise on the screen.
Okay, that's
what you're
part of
doing.
what's causing what I'm
And
feeling.
the thing is, and I forget what the point. If you read it, when you go to look at mice, you're going to have Best Buy or whatever. You can look at the descriptions. They'll tell you how many DPI it's, what it's on the sports. You want higher numbers with that. And it used to be everybody said, "Oh, I don't need that. I'm not playing games." I got to tell you, it makes your experience just smooth.
So much better.
Even if you're mousing between two letters in an email to put a period or something.
When you're selecting crap in an email to try to rewrite something, holy crud, it makes editing easier. That precision, you'll want it. Trust me, guys, you'll want it.
No, this is a great mouse. Chris, thank you for
a great compromise. Yeah,
thank you for recommending.
Oh, you're welcome. I love mine. So yeah, I'm happy to recommend it.
I got the white one, by the way, or the gray one, light gray.
Awesome.
That's
awesome
it, Chris.
pick.
That's all I got.
And that, kids, that's the show. This has been the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 80. It's Dad Jim. Recorded live Sunday, March 3rd, 2024, live from iTechGear Central for Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin, Mr. Chris Gavula, and Brother Joe McLaughlin. I want to say we will see you next time.